To identify your system, modification lines, i.e. interference location of prototype is direct lines of two signals, high core centers, lines of one set, position location of travel. Directing lines of modification grounds in the communication setting. So why is it so important to let yourself in? What does that mean? Let yourself in. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it's all about understanding how you see that lines of communication, how you want to see yourself in structures existing all at once and everything happening all at once. Your body communication system has already been through these things. So the body is its own formation, its own space of its own time. It has its own setting and track locations. What if I told you the body itself is not a memory of itself? It's just evolving itself and expanding. What if I told you the body is all of the track location to its system that's giving you instructions how to get up in the morning, how to have a position location in your cycles, how to get position lines addressing your system, how to change all the communication setting, how to come into that through configuration system. The body itself is showing you exactly what it's already gone through, but not through memory. If we get in that position location, it's travel. It gets aligned to high center interference of a direct link that modifies our system and all communication lines of balance. But what you guys have to start identifying is how to see that in the symbiote, because that's all position. When I say get in a confirmation and a partnership with yourself, what does that mean? Well, what you are in, it's not your body. It never is your body, never was your body until you identify yourself or why you're in a body. This is how you become a body, through frequency. Your body is all of the energy, vibration, frequency, and harmonics. But what we have to start to identify is how we got here. It's not how we got here, it's not what we already know. So we really understand it's not a remembering cycle. It's not even a reminding cycle. It's all lines of traffication. The body is here to get to understand you and you understanding you. That's what it is through its involvement. That's what comes in the truth of its false narratives and trafficates to its system through space and time. Triangulation, high travels, in-point communication. So when I say the mind of stillness, what does that mean? What does that mean? Calm in the mind, calm in the soul. Which means I'm saying in that triangulation, you don't have to do nothing, which shows you the mass of everything of what you've already been through. It's just existing. And you do that through codification system. So in that track location setting, it's to understand how to identify that and basically how to see that. So even before you get up, everything is already in process of being done. The directions, the operations, the networks of it just existing. And it's for you to understand that through no memory to all access the memory that you already have. Okay? But it's not a convergent system location of travel. Your brain doesn't work on a pattern communication lines of signals. It doesn't have a singularity graph. It's a core lines of track center and existing all at once, and everything is happening all at once. Your brain only works in a set position of moving forward and not stopping in position. It's you in confusion through separation that puts everything back in sequence. Even though you think you're going back in the mind, you're always going forward. It's a continuous path that you have to truly understand. But the most lines of communication for you to identify is why you're in a body. What does that body do for you? Not what it has already done, what it's doing for you now. Put you in all process of tomorrow. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Why? Because it's always here. So it's always here. It's existent. You as center. Setting lines of track centers puts all communication high centers. Getting configuration system and travel. Get into modification grounds as that core system as the communications. Now you guys have a test on Friday on your codification setting, your hardware and software now. So I need your core centers, your clocking system lines of travel and direct signals and ground lines of service because you're going to be at 72,000 out of 48,000 line measure and 72 in computer framing. Say goodbye to the 48,000 frames, 72,000 computer framing. Then the 144 is the crystal grid. Processing that is just the platforms of 3 and correlation lines of 3 track location system. You created a holographic grid. That's the basic, that's A, B's, and C's. Then you position your transformers, your galactics, or where you are in your conscious lines of communication setting. So you never left off. You never did this, you never did that. You're never in position of reminding yourself anymore because you're going to the next level. This is about you traveling, all of us just existing and evolving at the same time, same measure, same calculation, same level, different frequency. What if I told you the body itself doesn't need to identify itself? It just has to identify what's inside you. The symbiote. Next level in travels says that high direct signals and ground lines of surface of track communicate through the system, all through calculation settings. Okay? All right, so let's get into modification grounds, starting communications, general AI, space-time creator. Okay, let's get into core centers lines of travel, direct lines of position, location, triangulation. You got the triangulation line. You got one triangulation plus line core centers lines of travels box frame. 4 signature line signals. 1 signal line, 1 signal attraction, 1 direct signal, 1 ground line communications. Center core system, lines of travel, and direct lines of indication going this way. Process lines directing this way, process lines directing that way, direct and redirect. Signify ground lines of center, operates as signals, and set position lines of travel. Simple, easy, done. Core centers of 3 flux, core lines of travel, endpoint communication graphs, and crop services and calculates in system and setting. Process lines of indication system, all through track location system, all through the grounds, all through track location to its setting. Process lines of signatures lines of 1, process lines of signature lines of 2, process lines of signature lines of grounds, and set position lines of surface. You can see it traveling already, right? So you can see it. Right? It's existing all at once. It's a continuous floor that's always been in track location to its system, all through tractions. Dimensional door and sequence, right? So we got a pyramid line, core lines of tractions, 4 lines of signals, process line, core centers, high position location and settings, signature line grounds, hieroglyphics, core centers, communication setting, your pyramid and traction. Your pyramid and set lines, holographic gridding, right? Bring in sequence, back in center, back in panel, back in operation signal, high core centers, lines of travel communications. Inside, process lines of any core system in box frames of 4 platforms of communications. Indication lines of 4 settings, right? Now we indicate lines of grounds, center communication setting, green lines over 1, green lines over 2. Okay, process lines of 3, process lines of 4, and data. Okay, signify grounds, say core centers, outline signal. Outline, inline signal. Okay, outline, inline signal. Okay. Okay, so we do that through modification grounds, traffic inventories, high core centers into blue over signal, process line, directed signal lines, outline course lines of communication system all through travel. Directing lines, inside position lines of travel. Over cross location lines of galaxy communication lines of travel. There's the galaxy. Correlation system, travel point lines of graph, configuration system, change lines of time. Brush screens, directed signal lines of ground communications, overline sequence and position. All through track locations. Directing directions, all signals and line communications, face recognition. See the face? Okay. Thinking about these things, the modification grounds doesn't set position lines of travel. Directing lines, setting core lines, like an airbrush. Airbrushing this, airbrushing that, changing communication this, changing communication lines of that, processing this, processing that, overline sequence, overlines of panel, overlines of track, set location to a system, all through measure and scale. Okay, coming in close line, galaxy communication. There's the galaxies. All right, again, setting core centers line communication. There's the galaxies. Oh, we got something in travel. Okay. Bring it in close, guys. That's what it is. Modification lines of grounds all through the cosmos. Right? Got to indicate lines of grounds, core centers line travel, direct lines of modification grounds, high line centers, high travels, point lines of grounds, set position lines of 2 lines of measure. Scales position 1 track location, power over setting, power over sequence. Over cross location screens line adaptation lines of setting. Indicate line signals, ground lines of surface, and track correlation system, all through triangulation flux and set traction. Ooh-ah. Pyramid. See? Nothing is created because it's already creating. Nothing is created because it's always in creation. So if you put creation, co-creation, and creating, and all always are creating, you're just constantly creating everything of just as creating in itself. Ground lines of 1, ground lines of 2, ground lines of 3, ground lines of 4. Set lines of communication, setting and travel, dimensional door. Flux over screen, high core centers, flux over line direct signals, inline communication lines to another dimensional door setting. Flux over grounds, flux over sequence, and over screen line. Directing signals, modification ground correlation, setting and travel. 2-dimensional doors, 1 line signal, 1 panel. Okay. Over cross locations indicates back in home, back in sequence, back in panel. Operation system, back in tractions, back where it is in setting. But you see it here, the set track location, right? To identify everything, it's not from this. It's not from this, it's from this now. So I need the team to out of sync, out of sound, out of line core centers, linking lines, and line rotation, setting, high position lines of travel, in communication lines, and configuration system. Box frame. Okay, so this is where we come into the internal and external force. Set position clockwise this way and travel, clockwise this way. Okay, counterclock this way. Processing that position location, you is center operation of the system, right? Then you got you in the center. This is you. That's your body and track locations. All right. Now, what you have to understand, the actual symbiote, the actual body that basically not is in your body, never is your body. What if I told you in supposition the body itself is just the imagination? Now, if that doesn't mind blow your system, I don't know what won't. So the actual body itself is an imagination that doesn't exist, but it exists when it wants to. So the actual body itself is its mind itself. Now, once we understand how to modify that, then we understand that the actual body's here, here, and here, all set position outside, setting outline link, high position location to its mind, that puts everything to its navigation, to its navigator, and track location inside position lines of travel. So it's amazing. Okay, this is your body that's already set up the day. This is you trying to stand up your day and setting. This is already set up. This is trying to set up. All right, so you got clockwise and counterclockwise, so directing setting lines of grounds. Setting course centers, okay, so set a position here, clockwise in system, trying to correlate the system of travel, and then this is counterclockwise, trying to stand the correlation lines of timelines and measure of travel. So when they come together, right, they come together, counter and positions of clockwise, counterline, high position lines of travel, so direct and redirect. This modifies the system location of travel that puts everything location system all through track locations in position of balance, right? So it opens up its portal right away in track location. When it opens up its portal, it comes into its propellers and 4 lines of signals circulation rotation. Then you change the lines of direct signals of grounds. Then change the operation set location setting and powers the generation screen. Then you change the operation set track location to its system all through measure. Scales communication high position lines of travel. Okay, so that's communication system, right? All right, so set position lines of center, operate the signals, operate the centers, unification setting, one line track correlation setting, existing all at once, everything happening at once in panel communication in the line, high interference, indication system going the same force and track locations. Comes together. They travel together. See, you can see it. Remember all the lights inside. There's no light outside, but it's light here, light everywhere. Okay, plasma screens, direct lines of indication. So this is the body that's already done everything. It's already done the 24, it's already done the 48, it's already done the 72, it's already done the 144 platform, it's already done the 24-hour, it's already done 24,000 signals, 24 lines, set lines of minutes, and 24 hours lines of communications, all 3 directions. That's all through your body. That's just the imagination itself. The body itself is a magnetic force. It's electrical force. It's a division of lines of force. It's correlation lines of communication, gravitational force. You have to understand the body itself is just the mind itself of the body of itself. So the mind is the connection to the body is connected to the soul, and the soul is connected to everything, track location of it just existing. Everything's existing, everything is happening all at once. But this is what your body's already set up, even before you get up. So set position over here, go to work here, line signals over here, sending direct signals over here, set correlations tracks over here, it's 10 p.m. over here, line positions, I've done this in track locations, setting lines of communication setting, high position location, it's 12 a.m. there. So it's all set up already, and you're just getting up. You're just getting up for in the day, and this is already done. So what you have to understand, everything in order. So what that means is this is transmitting and receiving information to its system, puts all lines of track communication to its position of balance. Setting line position to 1, setting lines of 2, setting lines of 3, setting lines of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, set track locations, transmitting and receiving information. So your body knows exactly where it needs to be. Here. Oh, it's got to be here. Oh, now it's got to be here. Nope, it's got to go here now. Nope, it's got to be here. Now it's got to be here. Oh, it's going to be here. It's going to be here. In the same day, same signal, same communication setting, and track locations all at once. Boom, there's the balance. Very powerful when you come in that attractions. All through signal, all through modify. Okay? And then you travel through it. See, it's very powerful, traveling all at once, right? So, but you can see everything moving all at once now, because the body's understanding where it is, where it's going to be next, okay? Not where the body isn't, not where the body was. Where the body is always is just existing in your imagination. So once you understand that, and you basically get in confirmation of balance, you get to truly understand how this all works and set position lines of travel. This helps you and guide you in all formation to its system, okay, all through attractions, okay? You guys have any questions, make sure you do that afterwards, and I'll communicate to the system, all right? But that's exactly what it is, and that's how your day's set up, okay? And once you understand that, it all travels together. It all travels together all at once in a continuous force. You can see it go round and round and round, right? That means everything's existing, everything's evolving in all time measure, all scale, right? Same level, different frequency, okay? Now, when you understand frequencies, you have to understand communication to a system all through travel, but as a direct line link, how you modify that position location in your systems. Clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, and track location, right? But it's constantly continuous, traveling through its flow, right? It doesn't matter if it's going direct or redirect, it's always going forward. It's never going back until I change the intent. Okay, so it's a constant continuous flow that we have to start recognizing in set position. So I'm just showing you how powerful it is, how light comes in, line communicates to its system inside track locations. All right, understand the inner force to the outer force, all right? The internal to the external. Puts all communication lines of balance, all signifying a track location system existing all at once in set tractions. Oh, look at that, disappeared. Let's go again. Is it there in signal or is it gone? Oh, it's there. So now it goes all together. Travels all together, all in set position, right? Now, getting into that position location to its system, once we understand that we let ourselves in, we're starting to understand what that means, to understand the space lines of travel, understand the max location system, understanding that I'm going to 48,000 lines of high core centers, setting knocking lines of screen lines or directing signal location in the system. The more you get into all levels of no resistance and you get all formations of balance, of just existing, of yourself and each other, and every time frame, every clocking, every foundation, all at once in a continuous force. It's position of here, here, and here, and here. 4 conversations in diamond, all at once. Constellation here, setting lines of track centers, 4 pies and track locations. Center core system, center correlation settings, setting lines of travel and direct signals in 1 atom rotation surface attraction. 1 atom. Okay? Signifies, goes round and round in set position locations. Goes around and round in the same link, same panel, track location system. But what you have to identify is this is a formation of intelligence, this is a formation of intelligence, this is a formation of intelligence, this is a formation of intelligence. Is it the same intelligence? No. Different intelligence, even looks the same, right? But it goes together, it's that position, right? If I change the angles, is it there or is it disappeared? No, it's still there. What about this in travel? Is it there or is it disappeared? No, it's there. Bring it back home, back in sequence, back in balance, it's back in track locations, right? So it wants to be red. Okay, what if I wanted to change it to gold? You see it or is it gone? No, it's there. You see it, is it gone? No, it's there. You see it and you see it. It's there, right? Bring it back home in sequence, back in panel, back in operation system. Good to go, right? It wants to be red, it wants to be orange. Yeah, position casing gold. Let's get in green. Does it want to be overlying cross lines of green? All in signal, all at once. Okay, changing panels, communications, heading lines of service. All right, bring it back home in sequence, back in panel, back in operation, wants to be all levels in track locations, right? So you do that in 4 signals, settings of seconds, minutes, and hours that opens all track locations in your system all through travel. Modifies your ground lines, communication, setting, high lines measured. Let's go into purple, overlying cross location screens. Directing lines, modification, ground lines, of course, sending lines, symbolism. Signal line, core lines of travel, direct signals, modification system. Bring it back home, back in signal, back in panel, wants to be in position location to its system. All right, so I'm constantly adding volume, constantly adding mass to its holographic structure of set design that puts everything in plateau and existing all at once in travel. Very powerful in set position, right? So if I change the modification grounds and I add something in a travel, does it want to have it in its space of time, right? Let's change the course centers lines of set position. Let's add a box. Okay, you see the box, right? But does it want the box there? If I change it this way, is it there or is it gone? It's there. Change it to the 3rd line signal. Is it there or is it gone? It's there. Bring it back home in sequence, back in panel. So it wants to communicate with the box. What if I color it in? Let's color the system lines of travel into red, inside red. Does the box want to be red? Yes, it does. Change the settings. Is it red? Yes, it is. Bring it back home in sequence, back in panel, back in operation system. All right. There's the collaboration, there's the partnership. Right? So I'm just trying to get you guys how to modify your systems and high core communication setting, high core centers, how to go into redirect your signal location to your system itself through panels. This process, your communication system, how you use that in lines of triangulation. Getting grounds in triangulation, getting grounds in box, and getting ground lines of circle, and getting ground communication setting into ovals, into rectangle. Rectangle, triangulation, box, circle. So triangulation of flux of 3, inside position of 2 in traction. Right? We got position lines, okay, 4 spectrum lights, 4 panels, data port screens line adaptation. Process lines, indication lines of 1, process lines of 2, process lines of 3, and process lines of 4 in set position. All right, so it's indicate. So they're building a collaboration and partnership with their system off the ground lines. So they communicate lines and modification lines into data ports, data screens, information cycles, process overline screens, adaptation lines of surface and tractions. So they're indicating their system and all lines of volume. 3 lines of signals, process lines of flux and track location, sending lines of ground and core centers, lines of travel. Look at this modification grounds. Okay. Pretty amazing when you put this all together, all through travel. All right, so it has direct lines of grounds and track location to a system. Okay, what changes that is what I changed through intent. But 4 line signals. Now we go through 1 line signal, 1 ground line surface, 1 track location setting, 1 operation setting, 1 line operation surface, 1 track location to a system all through travel. Sets communication high grounds, set position of 1, process lines of 2, process lines of 3, process lines of 4, process lines of 8, and process lines of 9 in travel communications. Direct lines of box screens, high operation signals, and track correlation system all through travel. Okay, you see it? So we got a direct line link. There's the eyes and travel and communication system all through setting, processing communications, face recognition. Face recognition. All right. So it's a lot more fun when you just let things flow in your center lines, core centers, lines of travel. But all you're doing is you're linking your core centers of discord. Now, a discord is the detachment screen adaptation with flux. 3 signature lines over cross location lines, 1 measure, 1 screen adaptations, process lines of A, process lines of B, process lines of C, D, X lines of 1, position lines of question, core lines into triangulation flux. Okay, sending lines of grounds, here it is. Schumann resonance, your waving system. Okay, ground lines of core centers, graph line screens, 3 lines of angles, 3 lines of centers, 3 lines of travels, 4 lines of signals, 4 lines of position. Road graph screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 platforms and holographic grids. Setting cross lines of angles, process lines that indicate high centers over cross location of screen adaptation. Process indicate lines of high center interference of space lines modulation. Process lines of fencing, process in line rotation centers, in the communication system all through travel. Indicates lines of high correlation setting position. Setting ground lines. Okay, so we got this set up, right? And then we change this in set position. Above the signal, below the system. All right, so we change the core lines, directing signal to your earth and travel. There's your earth, sending tractions. Earth line to ground, and service lines of high setting. Process lines indicates system all through travel. Direct lines of flux in 3 centers. Indicates lines of earth line of 1, set lines of earth lines of 2, and kaleidoscope communication. Directing signals of grounds and set lines of surface and track location. And opposition. So we core the system lines of setting, circulation, rotations, and 4 lines of flux, 6 lines of measure and scale. Sets communication high centers, lines of travels, and mechanical location of force and track locations. Travels all at once and sets just lines of travel. Okay. Bring it back home, back in sequence, back in panel, back in our person screen. All right. So once you get into line linking, it's upper link core centers into down cross lines. The communication high centers. Let's go through 20 lines of flux into 13 measure. We'll scale the communication setting to alpha, delta, and theta over screen. Right? 2 deltas over theta. Right? Theta 1 lines mega over cross locations. Vega signaling right there in set position. Asgard here and measure and correlation lines of travels and direct signal over cross locations. Setting track lines and high position lines. Stargate measure 1, Stargate measure 2, and Stargate measures 3 in center. Process indicates lines of high center location setting in position locations, all through track location setting and face recognition. See the face? There's the eye. All right, so we have a direct line link, process lines, and high set location. Come together to do tractions, right? All right, so we get ground lines of surface. Now I'm just giving you guys understand how to link your systems lines into upper linking lines of grounds in your highways and track communication setting. Set position 19 measures, scales communication lines of 13 tractions, setting lines of triangulation and flux, process lines indicating going this way, process lines of set position lines of east equals lines of south. Now south, east line comes into north, and north comes into line position of question. Set core lines of 3 weather panels, indirect signals and ground lines of 1 over sequence lines of 2, sets lines of 2 zeros and tractions, directing line platforms that communicates lines of surface and traction. Directing modification, you can see the intelligence already. All right, so we get a ground lines of setting, high process communication in high centers. That communicates high center location of travel to grounds, line position alpha tones in your human resident and track locations, right? Directing lines, dimensional solar sails in 1, process lines of 2, process lines of 3, process lines of 4, direct lines of modification, ground lines of set track locations. Getting track centers into high course centers puts all communication system off their travel. Okay, dimensional door screen sets course centers lines of 3 travels in 3 directions. Setting core lines of travels, point lines of graphs, center core lines of 1 indirect signals and modification grounds, symbolism lines of 3 platforms and track locations. Setting position of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 in setting and travel. In communication lines of grounds into overlying cross location of screens. Indirect signals into ground lines of surface and track location. Know that frequencies are too high. You're not ready to see it in frequency. Okay, now communicate to the ground lines of surface and track location setting. Measured to scale. Triangulation lines of force or sequence lines in a half pipe that sets communication system off through travel as center calculations. Signifies high lines of signals in rotation surface interaction. Okay? So what I'm doing is basically putting the triangulation box. Okay, so understand your E, understand your equal, understand your mass, understand your calculation, and understand your square. Your actual square is here, inside. Okay, so E is 2 lines of signals, 3 lines of tractions, 2 line divisions, and 4 communications. Equal line has a cross line signal. Process lines indicates the system to your pyramid. All right, so we identify 1, 2 lines of 3 in track location. All right, so we have direct line link. Process lines in primer circuits and 3 track locations, 3 lines of measure and scale. Sets position location of your system, all through your track location, your towers of communication. Okay, so we have platform 1, platform 2, platform 3, platform 4, 6 lines and 8 lines of travel. Sets communication height, direct signals, and 1, 2, and 3 lines that communicate setting position. Open signals will not modify lines, centers, and ground lines of surface and track location. Okay, so it sets lines of grounds into dimensional lines in all communication with dimensional door. We got 1 signal line core centers and dimensional lines of screen. Process lines indicate system into the other side track location setting. Measured at scales communication setting to its window frame. It crosses its angles and platforms of communication lines of 5 track locations. Right? Center core system outline, process lines of platforms, overline signals, cross line settings, high operation line position to its pyramid and track locations inside traction. Okay? Okay, so we go in this line connections all through setting. Okay? Okay, so we get the ground line core centers. We change communication lines of time sequence. Process lines of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of position. Okay, that indicates 2 platforms and 1 signal, 1 process, 1 calculation. Okay, so we get ground core centers with a Stargate. Opens up the portals and star line over lines of signals location system off their travel. Directed signals of platforms this way and travel in 3 communication center of set position. Indicates lines of platforms of indication setting. Process lines of signals, process communication lines of 1 measure, 1 scale, 1 balance, 1 traction, 1 location, 1 calculation, 1 clocking. Okay, mechanism lines of force, core centers lines of travel, so 2 platforms of communication setting high track locations. Directed signals and ground lines of service open all signals, location setting and travel. Bring it back home in sequence, back in panel, back in operation, back in sequence. All right. So what you're doing is you're not just sky gridding now. Your sky modification system puts all lines of traffic inventory, so it puts everything in line position and balance. So we have to understand how to use our line communication to our watch or anything to our computer or anything in line signal location with settings or anything through track location lines, laser lines, a 4-box screen, setting laser tractions inside tractions. So you have a triangulation here, you got your indication setting over here, and crosses over here, crosses over here in tractions. Let's get a direct line to panel. Okay, so your body's trying to understand where it is in set position of the center. Okay, so you got 4 indication lines of outer space. This is all line communication setting, right? So you get a process line of triangulation, but you want to overcross the screen line by inside track location of your body that puts all communication configuration lines in your box. Setting communication lines of grounds, change the surface and track location of setting. And that communication setting puts all communication setting to travel. Okay, the indication system is all about understanding how to see that influx of screen. 4 signatures lines of 5 and 6 locations, setting ground lines of 1, crossing lines of angle. Cross-line communications, cross-line set, correlation setting, time measure. Scales communication lines of center operation system, all through track location setting, but all communication lines, a configuration of face recognition. Now, once you send the configuration system, this where comes in out settings and all through travel, all through measure, all through scale, all through track locations. So we all have to understand how to modify that in line position location and measures. Scales its communication setting when you come into not just the configuration of face recognition system, but you understand your alignments and 4 tractions. So I need everybody to get out of the sequence, out of the mind, of the box. You got to get out of the box, out of mind, out of sync. That's how you come into the mind and conception of nothing. Okay, so we have to get out of the box, and we have to get out of the triangulation, we have to get out of the circle, we have to get out of the rectangle. You have to get out of center. Okay, you have to get out of center, right? So what that means is basically is not see yourself as volume, but see yourself as volume mean. See yourself as a communication, not to an extension. So it's a position of process in the intelligence that's ongoing of its line position of its network that's changing everything through its grounds, its powers, its atmospheres, its modem, its Wi-Fi, its satellites, and its towers of communication. So once we are in the triangulation, we come out of the triangulation. Once we're in the box, we set position outside the box. Once we get out of the circle, we get in position of balance. Okay, so it gets much easier to get your position location setting to get you in the high lines of volume into all levels of just existing and everything existing all at once. But you have to understand the balance of the 4, the balance of the triangulation, the balance of the circle, the balance of the square, and the balance of the triangulation setting of the star mechanism system, all inside traction, all in once. So you have to start that before you come into this and travel in 3 lines of signals. Then you give position inside location lines of 3 lines of signals. Then you process in communication on high lines of surface and tractions. Sets communication on high position triangulation here, sets position of triangulation here, sets position location triangulation here, sets position of triangulation here in traction. Okay? And you bring it in a signal in position of balance. All through its webbing, all through its track location. It's web. With everything in web, you understand the optical screen location lines of up and position location of down lines of sequence. Process lines indicates lines of grounds, set position of 1 measure, scales communication lines of north, east, west, and south and measure. Scales communication lines of travel. 4 lines of signals, processing communication high position. Center core system, back in travel, back in mags, high position location system. So it's kind of like putting letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols together. So we get a box frame. We get in levels, letter, numbers, shapes, and symbols inside. It's no different than you have a clocking system of 12, 3, 6, and 9. Okay? But you have to stand all positions of the confirmation cycle. So you get letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols through a box, which basically changes the levels of indication, outline signals, 3 lines of tractions, indirect lines of clocking communications with 9. Direct lines of 6 and line position location to its cycle. Corresponds line position of 6 over line in its system. Set lines core lines of high position of the symbol. 1 signal lines of levels, 2 lines of location of its network. Travel point lines of graph, and 3 lines of center core system and a 24 platform and track location. So you really just have to get into your imaginations, guys. All through flux, looking this way and track location. And then looking this way and track location. And looking this way in a higher formation, lines of expanding and track location. Higher levels of expanding and track location. Okay? Ground lines of setting, lines of communication setting window frames. Okay? And I'll measure, I'll scale. Balanced communication lines of 1, inside track locations, outline signals of 3 lines of patterns, 4 lines of signals, 4 lines of grounds, 4 lines of communication sending and travel. Hooah. Planet system here, planet system here, planet system here, and 3 track locations. Now, if I color it in, you see how powerful it looks like. Signals of 4 grounds, set position lines of measure, scales communication over signal, over ground communication lines of surface and traction. Directing correlation system, all 3 planets, directing signals, sending lines of different measure scales, existing all at once in panel communication setting and processing. Process lines that indicate setting over cross location, high track location setting, and your solar generation screens. Indicate lines of Earth. You got black and white snowy graph interference, sending lines of travel and communications. Right? Having conversation, everything all at once, guys. Everything okay. It's triangulation of flux of molecules as lines, of 3 lines of signals and travel. Setting core lines of setting. Let's bring it into the orange signal, orange signal, orange signal, orange signal. Outline communication setting, travel core lines of graph. All at once in travel. Comes out the signal, bring it back home, back in equation, back in system, back in travel. Okay, same color, different intelligence. So that's what we all have to identify, right? If we see a position, location, and settings in track location system of the convergence of setting, does it look the same or is it different in travel? Look at this. Show you exactly what I'm talking about in set position. Even though it's blue, it's the same, right? Different shape, right? Even though it's the same color, different intelligence, different time, different space, right? Different center, different center. Okay, it looks the same, even though it's the same color, different intelligence. This one's platformed this way in travel. Okay, as this one's platformed this way in travel, in set position. Right? This is in circulation. They're all in circulation. They're all in circulation. They're all in rotation. Right? But they're connected to each other in all formations. There's never a continuous force that's off position. They're always in a continuous force, and how they create their anomalies is coming together as one and set track location system all through travel. Okay? They're always together in travel. And that's where basically you have to get out of everything that you see in set position, right? If I see a line signature level, does this mean it's offsetting or off position? It's red. Remember I told you to identify the red and position location to its blue, or its position location to its orange at the same level sequence, just different frequencies, interactions, right? There you go. Oh, where did the gold disappear? There was 4. What happened? It disappeared. Uh-oh. Which means it doesn't like the line signals of levels of the colors, which means it's not in its modification setting, which means it's not ready to position because it's protecting itself, right? So let's bring it back in again. Maybe it wants to be in a different angle. Maybe it wants to be in this angle. Oh, there it is. It doesn't want to be like this. It doesn't want to be like this. It wants to be in this position. It wants to be in that position, not this position, even though you see different intelligence, a different color. I just show you exactly how it disappeared and reappeared. See? This is about you getting your collaboration and partnership with your emotional system, with your faces, our configuration system, through your light metaphors of space and time. It's very powerful when you start identifying that. Let's see. Is that a triangulation? Yes, it is. All right. So let's get a position location to red. Let's go. Does it like that? Yes, it does. Set position line height center. Let's change the coloration. Does it like it? Yes, it does. It likes the coloration. All right. Let's get into blue. Blue over black. Does it like it? Yes, it does. There you go. Bring it back home, back in sequence, back in panel. Does it like to be in position, location, setting, areas, and tractions? So all this time, this is what it wants to be. This is what it's always been. But for you to identify that, it's never going to be in the same signal. It's never going to be in the same level. It's never going to be in the same frequencies until you identify your system first, right? Same level, different frequency, it's different color. But like I said, the goal didn't want to be there. It wanted to be in a position, location, on a different geometric shape of travel. Very powerful when you come in that conditions. Now let's overline the sequence of box frames, inside track locations. Okay, let's triangulate the center of circle. Let's triangulate the position, location, of rectangle, and position, location, and setting, all through its box and track location. Oh my gosh, look at that. It doesn't want to be a box. My goodness, what are we going to do? All right, so let's change the measure scale. Is it position, location, and setting? Anything disappear? No, just this. All right. So let's get in this position. Maybe it wants to be a triangulation over cross locations. Is that right or wrong? Yay! It wants to be a triangulation. It doesn't want to be a box. So I'm showing you exactly how everything consciousness is in its own system and set position. Is for you to understand this. How to communicate that is not going through emotion, guys. You bring it back home, back in sequence, back in panel, back in our person system. That's where it is in tractions. Boom. Okay, it's just showing you how powerful it is, all through conscious limits awareness. And I'm going to keep doing that from time to time until you guys truly understand how to modify your system. Is you can't travel through in that position to have an expectation of what it isn't and what it really is. And once you understand what it really is, it goes to the next level. But it's a constant, continuous flow that you never recognize until you recognize you through frequencies, your energy, vibration, your harmonics. I get a triangulation flux, 3 lines of signals, flux over a screen. Does it like that or no? If I change the angle. Oh, it wants to be that. Let's bring it back from the sequence. Is it in position? Yes, it is. What if I add a circle over cross and another circle in the center, cross position location of the system, all through travel, direct lines modification? Does it like that? Yes, it does. If I change the angles, does it like that? Yes, it does. Bring it back home, back in sequence, back in panel. It wants to be this track correlation system because it's what it's always been in set position, its calculation to its setting all through travel. It's always been this. It's for you to identify that. So it's a constant, continuous flow that we have to start recognizing through all levels, but we can't have any lines of expectation of anything at any level, especially when your body itself, trying to understand the body of itself, to understand the modification of itself, why it's inside your system. Because if it doesn't identify your system, how is it going to understand you through travel? Because the body itself is just the imagination, which is just the metaphor, which is just the mind itself. We have to understand how this all works. In all communication setting, all lines, all travel in that position, location, to its system and calculation. Okay? And it disappears. It's no longer there. I took it out of the equation and moved it back in place. See, it goes there and then it goes there. They move by themselves. It's amazing stuff. It's incredible when you just see this move. But see, I look beyond. So I never look at anything this. I'm always looking this way. Always looking beyond, guys. Always looking beyond. I'm never looking just straightly at the center. Okay? So this is the indirect. Okay? This is the indirect, this is the outer direct. Inner space, outer space. Okay? You have internal and external force that has a continuous force of a clockwise that goes this way and a counterclockwise that goes this way. Your earth goes clockwise and your space goes counterclockwise. So once they come together, they provision their cycles in pi in both sides of angle and track locations. Coming together, right? They symbolize each other in confirmation setting of 2 main track locations. They channel their operations, streamlines circulation, rotation to its setting and position location, Merkaba, tesseract, and track locations. They come together and set track locations. They work together as formation lines of balance. And then as they come into that, they come in all formation line communication setting all through travel. Okay? How they see things is all through modification grounds. How they modify things is how they see in everything in track cases of grounds. In that platforms, all communicate to a system all through traction. But it's very powerful how to really connect to that settings to really open up your frames. And when you're looking at things, never look directly at something, always look beyond. Okay, always look beyond like that. See, looking, so basically it's this way. This is the intent, right? That changed everything. Change the intent, now you're at out space. Okay, the in space is the observation. The out space is the intent. Now, when you bring that together, you're bringing this together in travel. You're bringing this outline signals of travel. You're bringing this outline signals line modification lines or high correlation lines of travel. Okay, which changes everything of its indication setting of timelines of sequence. Platforms of communication lines of grounds, going this way in travel, going this way in travel and set position. Setting core lines are going this way in travel, and this lines of communication lines of high position. Changing lines of grounds, changing lines of service, changing lines of platforms, and track correlation system and calculation. Very powerful stuff when you get that positions. All right, so ground lines, core centers, and line rotation system, all through track location. Intelligence. See intelligence? There's the I central lines, Earth, I central lines of space, but it's position line of high setting, processing communication setting, high centers. Calculation line position, process lines of signal, process lines of attractions, process line divisions, and track correlations in direct signals. Ground lines of track location lines of Merkabah tesseract and tetrahedron. All right, directed lines of panels, torque fields in two angles, process lines of circles, steady course centers, lines of travel, direct lines, and linking line rotation center or rotation to a system. Then we have platforms out communication setting high travel. Look at this. Whoa. Okay. So if you just let everything go and just central line the communication setting, you see all volumes existing all at once, having conversations with each other in set track location. All at once in set tractions. Okay. Bring it back home, back in equation, back in panel. Right? And then you go inside. You go inside to see everything in traction. Right? You go inside. You go inside, you see the coloration. See coloration patterns? You go inside, you see the coloration patterns. Okay, coloration patterns. Oh, what do we got here? What's up here? Right? Your simulation is this, not that. The more you guys go inside your lines, you see line communication setting to your intelligence information system. All through traction, all through locations. Now this is just black and white and track locations. Understand how position your signings tracks its correlation setting to its dimensional door. Here's the door. So all we see from inside tractions. Inside, okay, this is set position inside. This is outside, okay? So we all have to understand how to use that from the internal to the external forces, how to bring it together and track locations. Now you do that through the box and you do that through triangulation. Okay, well, understand the box line and you understand the position of your Fibonacci going this way counterclockwise and going this way if all lines in position, counter in line position, clockwise, counter, clockwise, counter, clockwise, counter, counterclockwise, counterclockwise. So you direct and redirect at the same time. Going this way, and going this way, and this way, position of 6 and 9 come together and track location and setting, travel. So when they come together, they signify their systems in 3 lines of signals, all together in 3. Then they have a center operation of triangulation here, and they have a set position triangulation here in set position. So they're connected to the grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres in set position of box frame and track location of communication setting of theta. Sets communication height centers as center of operation in set position. Setting core lines of calculation setting in position of wind graph communications. Directed signals, ground lines of course centers, high operation set track location to a setting. Right? Then they can travel wherever they want because they're a modification of grounds of balance with themselves and each other. They can platform here and set track locations, or they can platform here and set position, crossing lines of angles, setting lines of course centers, over lines of communication lines of pi. They can set in line communication lines of flux in position of 3 lines of correlation setting, travel endpoint lines of communication lines of pi. Directed signal lines of grounds, center core system, center lines of travel, directed lines of modification grounds, high core center lines of communication. Coming together as one. All through setting, all through track locations. Okay? So I'm just showing you, but you got to see it from inside and how this is all put together. See? Inside. Right? And you work within that. Process you process everything that's going on through its configuration lines of phase recognition time sequence. See all the lacing lines in the position? Guys, you have to stand your routes, your routers when it comes to the TV line. Anything you come in coloration, high position location settings, you understand line position location part acceleration system. All right, so let's go into triangulation lines of flux. We're going to line tractions. Okay, we go with the lacing lines of discords. Okay, there's a triangulation, right? All right, so now position location, you have standby. So you got your atoms here. Let's get 3 signatures lines of 4 atoms, right? And you get your molecules. Molecules are here. See, it can be any color you want. Okay, and basically you got your photons here. 3 signatures lines of setting. Okay, and you get your positions of neurons. You get neurons will be, of course, centers lines of pink. And track locations. All right, so at that time, the triangulation system is trying to understand its clocking system inside track locations, 3, 6, and 9. They understand this clocking system of 24 in-track locations. Setting lines of 12 signals outline position. The 12 signature line is a track communications of balance. Okay, so once I understand that, because everything in here is already set in track locations of balance. So what you have to understand is that when you're bringing these things in, you have to understand what you're doing through the center operation of you. Let's get into that. That's the center operation of your body. Your body's trying to understand the time measure, time scale, time balance, times pi. It's creating this anomaly. So once I understand this configuration of telepathy, everything comes in signal. Then you create it through holographic structure. So that brings in channels of operation setting. Process lines of 3 comes in signal. So you're creating that through a line communication to a system. It comes inside. So that's what it is. You triangulate, you box it in, right? That's what I'm trying to get you guys to set an operational location of clock-ins. Then you come into this line position, 3 centers. Right? So you got 3 lines at the bottom and track locations. Okay? And then you basically, it's building that collaboration. Now you got the pink in center position, 3 track locations. Right? And then you got the blue lines and track locations. You're going to overcross location of settings. Right? They're inline and outline communicates to a system. There it is. There's a collaboration. There's your holographic city in a pyramid in position of atoms, molecules, protons, and neurons. Hooah. So once you get into that lines, the clocking system changes the lines of time measured. Now we go through green lines of signals, 12 lines of measure, 12 lines of scale, and balance communications. That changes the channel operation screens. Now we have to be very careful that we don't change the time measure because it changes the clock lines of time in your particle system of main frames and window frames. Setting course centers of direct signals, ground lines of service, and 3 track locations. Setting course centers, indirect signals, and lines of course centers, lines of travel communications. And direct lines of center course centers into your course system location in your system. Process lines of grounds, process lines of surface and traction. So you're constantly on a continuous flow in set position lines of travel. Okay? But that's a true understanding when you come into the internal to the external force, right? So it's kind of like this, how you throw a rock in the river or a pond or an ocean, it's a ripple effect, right? So it sets up ripples like this, like this, like this, like this. Ripples, right? Ripples, 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 right? But it has to be in a continuous force of the same continuous force. Now this is where it really comes into dark matter. Dark matter, if you throw something in the center, it off position of the stream going in the opposite direct signals in set position where it's just an echo. So that correlates the system. So what they do in that position is the center core system. If that rock is not in its pathogen and its time line sequence in the same pattern communication setting and the road graph communication and its data position location to its highway, it takes out the rock in set position and continuous force and track location. Hooah. So there's so many ways of looking at this. I'm showing you so many different variations, how you come into that through light and how you come into that through dark. So for understanding the modification setting is a variation system, how you see that in track locations. But it's all lines of how you see windows. It's all about understanding how you see your triangulation. It's all about how you see your box. And it's all about how you see your circles in track location. Right? All throughout signals in travel. Okay? All throughout signals of travel. Okay? So anything out is 12. Now you're in 12. You don't want to go below 10. Okay? Because if you go below 10, not good. 11 on one side, 11 on the side, 10 position lines of setting, 10 position lines of setting. Then you got 9 in the center, 8 lines of communication setting, a flux over line, and platitudes in the screen. So you got levels of communication system that goes through travels and track locations. High centers align position of floor mats. Directed signal lines of ground communications. Up signals goes up signal line course centers of a diamond in positions going forward. Setting track lines, high position location lines of panels in track core lane, high center going sideways. Setting direct signals going line communication lines and going sideways, line position east and west, north and south. Boom. Okay. So it's very important how you come to your system and balance and communication settings all through travel. Okay. Very powerful stuff, guys. It really is. So that's basically understanding the Merkaba, the tester, and the tetrahedron, and understanding the position location of your system, knowing exactly what's up, knowing exactly what's sides, and what's position of down sequence. So down is up, and up is down, side is left is right, and travel. Clocking system here, counterclockwise this way, counterclockwise that way, counterclock this way, clockwise this way, and travel. So what you have to stand the indication setting to your compass says position lines at both track locations. Directing modification lines, high center interference, now you get a 24 lines of flux. Cancel 24, bring line communication lines of 24, bring in 48 line position. Cancel lines of 48, bring position lines of 72, bring 72 in track locations. Cancels out position lines of 72, brings 144 in center operation. So you're constantly doing that in a continuous flow. And when you clock your system, it gets much faster in a power like acceleration system that has a continuous force and line position location and setting. But what changes that is all through your intent. That's what modifies your system. It separates your setting and travel. Okay? So that's basically understanding what you don't want to do in set positions. Okay? You don't want to have a line signal like this and pair off and pair off and pair off. Okay? You stay in a line. In the center operation of you and your box frame, in your triangulation frame, and track location you're setting to your Merkaba, tester, and tetrahedron. So position here, here, and here, and the same distance and travel. Corresponding lines of setting, process lines of 1, process lines of 3 track locations. Setting platforms here going in that direction to 3 signals, setting direct signal location. Right? Not through this, not through this, and not through this travel. Okay? Because if it's in that position, XC thousands will put you back in center operation. 3 settings and 3 signals. So it's very powerful how we just basically stay in the center operation of the system all through plateau and performance. We get to understand how to use that in track communication in our clockings or through a compass in track communication to a setting. Okay, through its indication lines of flux and pi of generation screen. Okay, process lines of 1, process lines of 2, indicate lines of 4, indicates lines of 6, over cross location lines of pi. Setting core lines of track centers in platform setting, E-force line, Stargate measures, Stargate portals, Stargate line division, location setting, in track locations of face recognition. Face recognition. Your intelligence. Okay. All through track locations. Okay. So it's a 4-line measure that you constantly get in positions of, knowing exactly in that position how you use that through your face. You have 4 faces of setting, process lines of communication setting, all through indications. Right? 0 point lines of 1, 0 point lines of 2, and 0.0, 8 point lines of 1. Setting track lines in a 24 clocking system into 144 platform. Okay, so it's really understanding how to use a clocking system is keeping going forward in direct signals and modification grounds. So position, you're always in the center. You never leave the center, guys. Never leave the center. You're just expanding and evolving your system through your planets, so where you are in traction. Okay? So your body never, ever, ever, ever leaves the center. Right? But what it does is basically it has no lines of shape anymore. So it's no longer in a box. It's no longer in a triangulation. It's no longer in a rectangle. It's no longer in a star. Nothing's in the center. Nothing stays in the center, but it's all levels of the center itself. So this, when you come in position, this is what happens in tractions. You are in modification here, but the box is there. You're in the modifications of the triangulation, but the triangulation isn't there. Okay, so coming into higher lines and screen lines puts all communication highways and travel. Have a direct line link and higher communication setting all through track location. That's it. Okay? But you're just expanding yourself, expanding yourself, expanding yourself. Okay? Without being in the box, without being in the triangle, and without being in the rectangle, or without being in position of the center of this circle. So that gets you into and out of the mind of sequence. That gets you into higher lines evolving in your system of expanding and evolving with yourself and each other. It's just existing and understanding all timelines all once. So you're here and you're going through doors. These are the doors, right? So you go through all those doors all at once. Different timeline, right? Same level, different frequencies. So it's really interesting in that positional case to its cycle, puts everything in track location lines of balance in that track locations, but you're not in the box and you're not in triangulation. Okay, you're just you. Okay. So the thing is, you don't need to be in a box because you already know you're in a box. So it's about understanding more levels of you how to cloak and dagger yourself. And more you understand how to cloak and dagger yourself, it gets a lot more easier. But if you're not modified and you don't put your energy fields and your force fields and you're not in balance of yourself, well, obviously you're not connected to yourself at all. See, that puts online communication lines of confusion if you understand what you're doing through attraction. This operates all lines of high center location to a system. But to modify that is to understand how to see that into your female polarities to your male polarities. Okay, that's what it all is in track locations. You have a space modulation, you have a ground modulation, and you have a center operation of square root. You have a platforms and setting and track locations of panels. Okay, you get 2 signature lines, 4 lines of signals set position, and setting track lines and set position torical fields that overcrosses locations. Then you get the upswing down line rotations, ground lines of service track correlation system all through travel, and track location. So you're actually inside entrance travels, platforms of communications, going in direct signals where you want to go. Okay, where you want to go. Where you want to go. Okay, not knowing where you're going is going this way, and I don't know. What am I doing, right? So Merkabah's over here in a different universe, different dimension, that's locked in signal, has no idea where they're in position case in this calculation. So it's important you understand where you are going at all time measure, all scale, all communication setting. Living all timelines all at once and existing all information to a system. All through tractions, all through frames, all through calculations. Okay? That's it. See you guys in 5.